Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of the Reset Podcast. I'm your host, Lauren Mignot, CEO of the experience agency D-Flash. This is part of my 29 Days of Magic series where I get to interview a phenomenal Black woman a day over Black History Month. And this is a really special episode. I get two phenomenal Black women, Queen and Jay, who are the hosts of the amazing Tea of Queen and Jay podcast. I'm going to talk about how they got their start, how they're here, trials and tribulations along the way, and what they're up to now. It's going to be a fantastic conversation. So take a listen. So hi, Queen. Hi, Jay.
Hi.
Hey.
Super psyched to have you.
We got to do it.
What? Oh.
Of course you had. I was waiting for that. I was waiting for it.
Thanks for having us, Laura. What's up?
Super psyched to have you wonderful women here.
Mm-hmm.
So, as the show always starts, I always ask the same first question, always fascinated by the answers, and I feel like you two will have really interesting answers. So, ladies. Nope, but you're not a lady.
I'm not a lady.
Not a lady.
Wonderful women.
Mm-hmm.
What was your first jobs?
I worked in the gift shop in 4th grade. We had a little gift shop.
How did you have a gift shop in 4th grade?
I don't know why it was allowed, but we had to come into school early and sell gifts. It was a little store. It was called Gifted Gifts in the Bronx, and we sold like erasers and
to other kids?
To other kids, to parents, to teachers, notepads, and like we made buttons. We operated a button machine. And we press-made buttons.
What the hell?
It was a whole thing. It was some nerd
That's
shit,
child
yo.
labor.
Like 4th grade is 10 years old. Like
that's what it was.
That's hella child labor.
Yeah. I got in trouble because I was spelling buttons bottoms on the receipts. And you would have thought I was doing somebody's taxes. The teacher acted like I had like committed a crime or like fraud or something.
What?
I'm like, listen.
Because you said buttons?
Sir, I am 8
You were a queer
years old.
ally since you were 8.
Bottoms. Bottoms.
I'm like, sir, I have a late birthday, so I'm like, I'm 8 years old. Okay,
leave me alone.
Like, leave me alone.
Could I live?
Yo, can I live? Yeah, but
That's hilarious.
so that was my first jobby job.
Did you get paid?
Wear a uniform. At the end of the year, the whole class got paid, and we split the money. And I can't say where we went, but we went to a famous toy store that no longer exists. But I'm not that old, though. I'm not that old.
Okay.
But anyway, so yes, we all got $23.
That is child labor.
That is so child labor. The whole semester?
The year.
Oh my
grade
God.
school. Yeah.
Y'all were paid like prisoners.
Yeah,
that is like
we
some
were.
I think
$10 a
prisoners
day.
were paid more.
Yeah,
But I don't know if that's because of the sales that we actually made was that little, because we were just there hanging out in the morning and at lunchtime, like selling things and working our shifts. You know what? Now I have questions.
See? Child labor.
You're right.
Yes. What the
$23 a
Right.
year? That is way less than
It was
prison
a
labor.
big class, though. It was
I
a
don't
big
care.
class. We made ads and posters and
that
stuff.
don't sound right.
That was like your teacher being like, I don't want to do this work, but I can make these little kids do it.
It's possible. I think we
And
were allegedly
she probably
learning
was like, "This is
something.
financial literacy."
It was he.
Like,
Yeah, it was
pretended.
a guy. It was a
Pretended
guy.
it was like
Yeah.
some teaching moment.
Well, that was my first job.
Okay.
Right?
So we learned about child labor.
Yes. Yes, we
You learned
did.
about spelling
Yes.
and the importance of selling proper products
Mm-hmm.
that are spelled correctly.
You're right.
It's okay. It was a lesson. Lessons were learned. Good things were had.
Mm-hmm.
How about you, Queen?
My first job was at 14, which is a legal age to work and get working papers in New York City. But yeah, I had a summer youth job. Summer youth is a program in New York City where they get summer jobs for like people 14 and up. I think 14 to 24, some shit like that. And yeah, that was my first job. I was at Hostos Community College, which is in the Bronx. And I was supposed to be, I don't know what I was supposed to be doing. I was doing.
What you were doing, actually?
I don't know I don't even know what we were supposed to be doing. I just know I was always in the computer lab and chat rooms.
Okay.
Talking to predators, obviously.
What? Wait, hold on. Tell
Oh
me.
gosh.
How was that your job?
I think my job was supposed to be like assisting office people, but they never had anything for us to do.
So you just chose
Because
the
it was
computer.
the summer, and it was not like school is in session, and it's
Right.
way less to do. And it's not like they're paying us; it's the city paying us through the summer youth program. So I kind of just end up always in the computer lab, in chat rooms all day. And as an adult, I know that those are some grown ass nasty men.
Oh God! Oh no!
But that's what my first job.
Okay. So you got paid to talk to online predators. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm
Basically.
I'm rethinking the button thing. Might have been
I'm
might
just
have been
saying.
better. Like,
Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm
At
like,
least I was
what?
learning skills, you know?
Look, I was 14
Hey, it wasn't your fault.
at all.
So it's like, and you got paid for this, right?
Yeah.
So I mean,
I was supposed to have work to do, but I never did. So they was just like, oh, you're going to computer lab.
Okay.
okay.
All right.
Listen, as long as you got paid, I mean,
And I didn't go like meet any of the people. It was just like, ooh, this is creepy. And I told my friends like, ew, this guy said he wanted to do this. That's nasty, right? And then, yeah, that was my first summer job.
New York employment.
these are the jobs
Oh, wow.
that enabled you to
Right.
have. Like,
Yeah.
look, it got you paid.
Yeah, I did. I got paid. Got to buy my school clothes for the.
Oh, that's important.
Okay, so that's important.
what. Yeah, that was the reason why my mother always put us in that summer youth kind of thing to do the summer jobs. So it was like you can contribute to the school clothes and
And you
stuff
were
like
occupied
that.
also.
Yeah, and I was
And you stay out of
occupied.
trouble.
Exactly.
Right,
I was kind of in trouble, but not.
She was not staying out of trouble.
No, she was inviting trouble to herself
Yeah.
by
No,
hanging
she
out in
was-
these chat rooms.
She
Okay.
engaged, yeah,
Being
by
like,
predators.
But yeah, there was that too. It was giving me something to do and yeah, stuff like that. So yeah, that was my first job at Hostos Community College.
All right. Bronx stands up. We were both working in the Bronx.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, I've been from the Bronx. So
Mm-hmm.
that would make sense.
That would make sense. I get it. All right. So, how do you women end up being sitting next to me? How did Tea with Queen and Jay become this awesome phenomenon that when I was in LA and I was talking to someone about podcast movement, they're like, do you know those folks? And I'm like, yeah, I actually know those ladies. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, I'm from New York and I know people. Like, this is what I do. But yeah, I mean, you have this phenomenal podcast. So what's the journey to get you to this moment where you're sitting in my soundproof pod?
So I was doing like online radio, really short like online radio stints with like people who just wasn't taking it seriously, and I realized like, oh, I like this. This is cute or whatever. So I asked Janicia, like, hey, I want to do this. You want to do this with me? And she was like, that sounds good, but you should do a podcast. I don't know what this online radio shit is.
Yeah, it was already when we started talking about it. It was when did you stop online radio? Because I think there was a period when I didn't know if I wanted to participate because I was working a corporate job, and
She did air quotes.
I did air quotes, yes, corporate job, right? Air quote that. And there's this. I didn't grow up thinking that it was okay to become a creative. Like, unless you grew up with years of training in dance or art or whatever. Just me being a black girl from the Bronx, I didn't grow up thinking you can become a creative or you can go and study like African American studies and teach that shit or create content surrounding that. So I was working my stupid corporate job, and I was afraid that if I did do online radio, which I would have never done, but if I did do a podcast,
making that very clear,
I would have never done online radio. Thank you, but it was like 2012, 2013. We were having this conversation, right? So I was like, okay, well, podcasting is like what's happening right now. But if I did do it, is it okay to use my government name and be talking about white supremacy? The things that I know that I would naturally talk about. Like, we didn't know what we were going to talk about, but I know I'm going to talk about white supremacy. If I'm doing this thing that's a creative outlet, I'm not going to censor myself. So how can I do that, be my full self, and then still keep my little stupid corporate job that I don't even love, you know?
You got to eat.
Yeah. And then I realized by the time they give a shit that I'm doing this podcast. Oh, can I curse? Can we curse?
Of course you can.
Thank you. Okay,
I've been cursing already.
Okay.
Yeah, like, did you see me stop it? I'd be like, yo,
no. Yeah, by the time anybody cares, like that, at my job at least, that I'm doing this podcast, I won't need this job. So that was my thinking. I do need a job, but I didn't end up needing that job.
Yeah.
So that was a blessing. But yeah, so we did not do online radio. So
that's how
we have a podcast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what made you think that there was this void for women as race nerds? Because, you know, I listen every week, and I'm always fascinated by the topics that you all choose and the way that you approach it, because it's just so real versus a lot of the bullshit that you see out there where you're just like, shut up. Like, how have you guys been able to sort of find that voice for the two of you?
I think a lot of it has been about, if we're going to do this, then we're going to just do it the way we want to do it and the way we feel most comfortable. And that's just kind of what listeners hear every week. I know for me, it's just like, I don't know how to be anybody else or like do stuff in different ways. So it was just like, this is just
like code switch.
Yeah, exactly. That's not something that I do or something that I guess consciously do. Like, okay, let me have a radio voice, or like that's just not something that I'm like,
or even like a job voice, a 9-to-5 voice.
Yeah,
like switching up was never like something that
I did. Right. So not even just my voice, but just like with what I talk about in my content and like what I want to talk about, because the things that we talk about in the podcast are things that I will talk about in my regular life anyway. Like before we started recording, I talked about how my whole family was on vacation debating about capitalism. Like this is just like the conversations that I have. So why would I censor that? While people are listening to me have these conversations too, so it's just something that just came natural to me and Jay, because this is shit that her and I would fucking be at parties, and then eventually we'd have to critique something in some way, and then me and her are like passionately like
passionately calling somebody a rapist.
Like, we've done that.
Yeah, no, that's rape. You're a rapist. With the drink in our hand, that's what it is.
Because you gotta call it like you see it.
Yeah. And I personally, I did grow up code switching, and I was taught heavily to do that. And there's nothing wrong with code switching. We know that niggas have to code switch when they go to work and things like that.
It's a survival thing.
Right, but what I didn't want to do, because these are like the womanist race nerd conversations that we have on the podcast are actually the things that we talk about amongst ourselves. What I wasn't going to do was start a second endeavor, right? Because this is a business. I wasn't going to start a second business and be code switching the same way I do when I go work my corporate job.
Yeah.
To me, that this is pointless. Like the point of this is really to be ourselves and share our voices. And I realized all the things that I was afraid of doing on a podcast, all the things I was afraid of like fully leaning into because I might be judged by whatever, white boss is like holding the keys to my salary, are all the things that I never heard anybody else like me do before. So it's like this fear that I have is really why I need to do this, because I've never heard anybody do this. And when we talk about this kind of content that we do, or being that buzz term of being unapologetically black and things like that, a lot of content creators are still beholden to
the white
whatever,
gaze.
the white gaze and whatever corporate entity is helping fund their platform or whatever the fuck they do, and we make it our business not to care about that, and so we just do what we do. I'm not trying to pivot so that I can get more listens. I'm not trying to, create some sort of viral moment.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I'm really just trying to share the content that I never heard when I was like consuming shit heavily, like the shit that I needed to be. And why did I feel so afraid of like being my authentic self? So really kind of trying to dismantle that and feeling a need that I had really for myself,
I want to add that Jay and I both come from like families that have like very like kind of pro-black activist kind of like upbringings.
Right.
That's where we both come from. So it's like this was already things that were like happening within our own bodies. We were protesting together. Like these are things we were doing, and it just turns out that we have a podcast where we're able to turn media into another form of our activism. So that's another thing that this podcast is for us, is like media activism. And like if you hear people like me and Jay saying whatever we want, being unapologetically black, then you know that now, oh wait, there's a possibility that I can do this. Not even like in a podcast, but just in your regular everyday life, where you can just authentically be yourself and say these things and have these thoughts and like all of this stuff. So it's grown into like activism.
No, but it's true though. Like, how would you sort of like describe the podcast in like the kind of brass tacks? Like, this is what Tea with Me and Jay is all about.
Well, our tagline is two womanist race nerds talking, politics, liberation, and some other shit over tea. But dismantling white supremacist patriarchal capitalism over tea, right? So that's our tagline. Sorry, I've been doing a lot of writing, so I've been thinking about all the shit I've been writing. But anyway, that's our tagline, but it really is honest conversation centering Black women, Black femmes, anybody who's affected by misogynoir, and really just centering our voices and experiences. There's a lot of things that happen that are news that we don't talk about, that are popular that we don't talk about because we don't have anything to add to that conversation. And so we talk about the things that are important to us, or that we find are important to the populations that we really care about.
Well, it's refreshing because I think that I listen to 11 billion top podcasts every week, and you women,
thank you, or you too,
use choose,
you hoes over there,
you thoughts,
thoughtful thoughts,
thoughtful thoughts. You take aim at what's happening for real and really allow the conversation to flourish in a way that feels far more authentic, but you are yes, well, of course, just misogynoir everywhere. When I think of what's happened in the last few weeks with, with Snoop Dogg and where I'm just you son of a
you son of a bitch, Snoop Doggy Dog, get it?
Yeah,
dog?
Just
no?
dog, get it, yes. Because I'm just how? What? Yeah. Really? And now I see he's going to be on Red Table Talk, and I'm
he was on there, and people are not happy with those clips. People feel like Jada was too hard on him, which is really interesting.
Really? Yeah. Really interesting.
It's really. I haven't watched it. That's not really my jam, but it's been interesting to see the way that even Black women are kind of reacting to this. There are a lot of Black women in support of his comments towards Gayle, because of the way that we respond to Black male emotion and all of that shit. So it's really interesting. It's been actually really painful to watch. We haven't talked about it on the podcast yet because of how painful the whole thing is. Yeah. So it's been a lot to process.
Yeah, it's just, it's interesting because I remember seeing, so full disclosure, we have a relationship with Gayle because she did our event in Cannes, and she was the loveliest woman ever.
I've actually met Gayle before.
Really?
Yeah.
Remember that time when I was doing temp work at BET?
Yes.
And I was in the CBS building, wherever it is in the city. And we got on the same elevator, and she said she liked my shirt. So.
Aw, that's nice.
It was a good moment. Okay, I just had to say that.
But yeah, she couldn't have been lovelier, and she also stuck her neck out for an event that had never been done before, and said yes, she would not only use her name, but she would agree to an interview to talk about why and how this was so important, and then to see the response, and I'm why is it you come for Black women so hard at these deeply emotional times? Just breathe. Just breathe.
Yeah. I think that people are really afraid to reveal kind of how hurt they are by the passing of Kobe, and really not when we're grieving, it things get complicated. You know what I'm saying? Emotions are riding high, and I think that it's certain people are allowed to grieve and others are not. You know what I'm saying? Because I really do feel like a part of the conversation that Gayle was having with Lisa Leslie as a Black woman, I think a part of that conversation and the questions that she asked, that you could really only ask the friend of someone who was accused of rape. You can only ask the friend, the woman friend of a man who was accused of rape. You can only ask them as a woman to woman.
Let's have this conversation.
Yeah, let's have this conversation, and how do you feel, and those kinds of things. And I think that for a lot of us Black women who did love Kobe, who did have a complicated relationship with his existence, who are related to fucking rapists. Who have friends who are fucking rapists, because we all know mad bitches been raped, mad niggas been raping them, okay? So these are people who we're related to, we love them, it's a part of life, and many of us, women included, we're just now gaining this proper language and knowledge about consent. which means we all know rapists closely and intimately. And so I think a part of that healing and a part of that hurt is asking these very honest questions about rape and how we feel about those who have been accused and the allegations, especially at a time when I hate to talk about cancel culture because I have a lot of mixed feelings about it, and I don't think that it's always a bad thing or necessarily even exists.
It doesn't exist.
Right. but I feel like in a time where like we're oftentimes unforgiving, right? Like to me, the conversation about how do we feel about these allegations, I think it's okay to forgive. You know what I'm saying? Like Kobe has said himself, he acknowledged that, yeah, this, maybe I did not have full consent, which is not okay. It's not okay to not have consent, right? And so I feel like we're afraid to have those conversations because we're afraid for people to say, yeah, that I did a fucked up thing, and like it's okay. You know what I'm saying? I'm still like a person, and I've grown from it or whatever.
I've learned.
Because we always that exactly we wanna make the idea of people who do harm or rapists, for example. The idea of rape is such a it's a stranger in the alley. You know what I'm saying?
And not your cousin.
Or not like your homeboy that you went to college with who raped your friend. You know what I'm saying? And you weren't there. And so it's like, and you're 17 and you're in college and it's like, well, I don't know what happened. This one said this happened and this one said that happened. And how do I process this? Because I don't understand consent either.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? So it just, I really wish that there was a little bit more understanding that the questions that Gail asks, even though there are a lot of black women who are like, she shouldn't have asked that question, there are a lot of black women who find that question to be important to our collective healing, and black women, those are also black women who cared about Kobe, who love him just as much as those who are like, no, don't ask that, don't talk about that, you know?
Yeah, I think the conversation has changed. It's like, okay, if it was 5 years ago, before Me Too, before Cosby goes to jail, and more people are talking about consent, you know, I think the rage would have even been louder. Mm-hmm. But I think now, because of the fact that, you know, more black women obviously came to her defense, and, you know, black men were just like, yeah, we'll throw her off the cliff. And I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. You were all, last week you were girl dad, and last year you were all cheering when she was going Robert.
Right.
And it's insane to me that you are so quick to just burn a black woman at the stake. Mm-hmm. And that just is nauseating and annoying on so many levels. Right. So how do you all deal with probably like what happens online with like misogynoir over on Twitter and all the other platforms? Because I always see people coming for black women the first. And it's always like the most random of stuff. And I'm like, really? This is why are you in my mentions? Yeah. like how do you all deal with that?
I block, I mute. I don't really like go back and forth with people anymore because it's just like, for what? Because it's like silly, and a lot of the times I know that they're getting a rise off of it. Like I really feel like there are a contingent of men who like jizz by hearing or seeing me argue with them and going back and forth. So I don't even like do that shit no more. Like fuck out of here. Like get your nuts some other way. But yeah, I'm mostly just like disengaged. I have it. My timelines are like highly curated, where it's like people who don't even retweet dumb shit into my timeline. Like at this point, like it's to the point where I used to source a lot of info for the podcast through social media, and now since I've curated it so perfect that I'm like, I don't know what's happening.
Wait, what happened? I had no idea. Like, wait, what did that happen?
What's going on? What are they doing?
An election this year? What?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I'm just like, what? Who we mad at? What we like? What? What's happening? So I'm at that point right now. So that's been helpful for me. Like I've just kind of just really kind of just like disengaged because I just can't continuously like just see that shit over and over and over, or feel that shit over and over because you feel it.
Why would you want to inflict that kind of trauma upon yourself on a daily basis?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Right. I try to use my social media for like Black joy shit. So I like when Twitter comes together and like makes jokes, like an endless series of jokes about something that's either like really serious or just something really silly that everybody is doing. Like that broom challenge shit.
That was amazing.
I enjoyed that.
That was so
I
funny.
enjoyed that.
That was fucking hilarious. Or like
The dance as well.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Or like discovering what Black celebrity has a white girlfriend and making jokes.
Oh yes,
Making jokes about it because it's funny.
We had a good time with that.
So
Yeah.
it's funny. So like this, I enjoy the side of social media and Black social media in particular, where we are
having fun,
delighting in one another, and getting together across the country and across the world, oftentimes, and just like enjoying one another. So I also curate my social media and my timeline so that that's what I'm doing, and because I'm not seeking to go viral, I do have to be on social media in order to engage with people and in order to share my podcast, but I'm not seeking viral moments.
Exactly.
And so that has been, that has helped me to protect my sanity and my space.
Word.
Does it keep me from soaring to the viral heights that I know a lot of content creators feel like they need to? Yes, it does. That's just a part of it, because I need to, what's the priority is maintaining my mental health, and my safety in that space. So,
and then the work is a podcast. Like, I think that that's something that's really important to me. My work is in the podcast. It doesn't have to be on Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm probably going to say these things on my podcast. I'm probably going to, I don't need to do a fucking 20 thread tweet because this is stuff that I can just save for my podcast. Like I have a space where I can get this frustration out and also bounce it off of somebody that I can trust in the process. I don't need to do that on Twitter. I don't need to do that shit. So I'll just blurt my little shits out on Twitter and then kind of just go about my day, or I do stuff like that on Facebook. Just blah, I just blurt something out and then go about my day. And now it's at the point where before especially on Facebook, my comments used to be like hell because people were just coming in but I've just deleted so many people that it's not even that, or people are just so used to me I'm funny and then I'm very short. So people are kind of just used to me just kind of really shortly making them feel not smart. Just
quickly dragging.
Yeah, very quick. I don't even have to do all of that. Just and then you're just I don't even have to drag you across the room. So I think a lot of people who engage with me on social media knows that I will just make you feel miniature size with just one sentence. So I don't even have to give all of that energy. I don't even have to do all of that. So I don't know. You kind of I think you train the way people engage with you on social media as well. You train them. You teach people how to treat you on social media. And I think I've done a really good job with that. You don't come at me acting silly.
Don't come for me unless I send for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And because our content is not, we try not to be sensational. Yeah. So there are times when I feel, there are times when I have sensational thoughts about something, and I will just try and keep it to okay, what, because my voice matters, and at this stage people care about what we have to say, right? So our listeners take what we say very seriously, right? So I try not to say things that I know are clickable and just fucking sensational. There's somebody who I want to call the fucking feds on my podcast, incredibly bad. She's the fucking feds. But I can't say that because it's sensational, and I don't want people to dismiss my actual feelings about that person and their work and how harmful I feel that they are by just calling them the feds. I need to say, okay, what is it that makes this person a harmful person to our community and things like that.
But it's always more nuanced. Right,
yes. And so because we try to stay away, we're honest, but because we try and stay away from sensational clickbait, this person is the fucking worst and they're irredeemable, we try and stay away from stuff like that. It also makes it so that the comments that we have, the type of listeners that we have, are also not bringing that energy. So whoever you are, you kind of set the tone for who follows you and who fucks with you. And when we do have those rare people who are going off the deep end, we either ignore them, or if it's somebody who we feel we should just meet them and fight, we'll say, hey, what are you talking about? Because it's okay. You can think this is Twitter if you'd like, okay? Because but we've met before, and I'll see you again. This is not,
this is not.
Yeah. So that happens on occasion, but for the most part, we keep we just like, we try and keep a good energy, and we have a lot of listeners on a large following, but we're still at the level where we can actually communicate with people still.
Exactly.
And so we want to keep that going as long as we can before it becomes this like toxic thing, or just at a certain point we're not going to be able to talk to everybody anymore, just because of the volume of of that. But we like to, when things are like ridiculous, we'll usually ignore it or I address it directly. Like,
well, there's always like a really good GIF.
Yes,
GIFs
are great.
GIFs are
They
great. Solve all the problems.
A really good GIF that'll just like do all the things for you,
and you're like, and you're good. We've ended this conversation right this second. So you all have been at what, 7-8 years now?
It's been 6. It's been 6. Yeah.
Wow. So what's been like the biggest challenge that you've faced over these 6 years in building an incredible audience and expanding your profile and all the things that kind of come through that, and having that challenge, and how you've been able to see your way through?
I think one of the big challenges is that we are a team of 2. Yeah. And we don't have corporate backing. We don't have, I know lovely people like you who have all of the things and all of the connections. So I have built we're also like nice fucking people. So we meet people and we build connections and things of that nature. But we didn't, unlike a lot of people, we didn't start the podcast with knowing a lot of people, having a lot of connections.
Like we weren't like personalities who started the podcast.
Right, which a lot of people do. A lot of people were already like some type of social media personality.
They were influencers.
Or something like that. And that our work is dismantling white supremacist patriarchal capitalism on Tea with Queen and Jay podcast. Yeah. That's what we do, And so it's not a hurdle per se, but it is one of those things, because we're not talking about sex or being sensational. Yeah. It's a slow grind building an audience, So that was a slow grind. And I think, again, being a team of 2 has been the biggest challenge, because there are things that we know what needs to be done, but it's like, okay, how much manpower do I need to get this done? How long is it going to take me to get this done? Yeah. So that, I think, was a big challenge. And then one of the unexpected challenges was, I think, we've always been Black women, but we haven't always been Black women in podcasting. So knowing how people treat you when you are Black women in podcasting. Everybody knows us, but not everybody fucks with us because we are Black women in podcasting. And because we don't shrink ourselves for whatever Black man is standing next to us, or because we don't posture, we're not clout chasers, and we don't care, and we're very direct. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And that honesty makes people uncomfortable, especially in an influencer space where niggas are fucking buying listeners and buying downloads and posturing and all that. It's a lot of clowns out here.
Faking the funk all day long.
Faking the funk, Yes. And honesty makes those people within an industry like this very uncomfortable. And so I didn't realize how, for example, everyone knows us. We do Pod and Live NYC every year, which is a large Black podcast meetup, the largest Black podcast meetup in the world. Everyone knows us. People fuck with us. Holiday time comes around. Do we get invited to holiday parties? We're not top of mind for anyone. You know what I'm saying? Except for other Black women often.
Exactly.
They're a lot, and that's not to say that no one thinks of us. That's not what I'm trying to say. But if we were Black men, the way that people fuck with Black men within the industry is very different than the way people fuck with us. If we were doing the same shit that we do as Black men,
different world.
It would be a whole different world. So just kind of, that has been interesting to watch. It's no longer disheartening. It's more like comical, and it's more like, oh, I hate it here. You know what I'm saying? But that has been kind of challenging, and then really having to, as Black women, pay so much attention to like we can't be a guest on everybody's show. You know what I'm saying? Because there are people who are going to ask us ridiculous shit because they don't listen to what Black women have to say. So you might invite me on your podcast because I'm a popular woman, Black woman, but you've never listened to my podcast, so you don't know what I talk about. And so you're going to call me a female or something that goes against my politics. And, then it's my fault when I say something about it. So it's been interesting.
My interesting things is that everyone's a fucking weirdo.
I would agree.
Everyone is so fucking weird, and it makes me uncomfortable. Yeah. Like, everyone is weird. Like, everyone is pretending. Everyone is not who they say they are. Everyone is like, you meet them in person, and it's like, who the fuck is... I don't know. I just don't...
The fakery is high.
It's so high. And then, like, I guess for me being a person who hasn't really lived a life where I have even code switched, which is something I understand. To see something go all the way to the like far left of that and to be completely fake and like a different thing, like a whole different like fucking thing for no reason. Like I understand why people code switch and I understand the reason, but this fake shit. Why are you fake?
Why are you fake?
Why are you doing this? White people here. Why are you
stop? Just stop.
Yeah,
really?
like why are you doing this?
Like one, who raised you? Just stop.
Where is the fake nigga who raised you?
Yeah, I don't get it. That's like my every fucking week some kind of weird happening happens as we get more popular because of the podcast, and I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with these people?
It's very bizarre. It's bizarre.
Well, I mean, even for me, where it's like I'm still relatively new at doing this, and it's like, well, and you're like, well, how did you do? And I'm like, I'm a normal human being. It's like, I have a business. I saw a need, and I was like, oh, and if I can find as many awesome black women, why would I not do this?
Yeah.
And but how difficult? Like, I snap my fingers.
Right.
Like, what's wrong with you? But if you're gonna, but then you have the fake people who are like, well, I have to like look at my schedule and sign a, and I have to sign a release.
We get
and I'm like,
we get that,
and I'm like,
like what?
You know what? Then I don't have time for you. I'm just gonna be on my merry way because I just have always been like, I'm afforded a lot of different opportunities because I sit in a bunch of different circles,
right?
And as a result of that, I have access to stuff that not every black woman has access to. And every time that I can share that with other black women, I'm like, hey, come on, like, get it. Like, they trust me. Come. Right.
I just picture the door open, like, come on,
get in. Come on in. Quiet notice. And I'm just, I do not understand the fakery. I mean, and the levels to it, like where you're like, oh, you think they're so accessible on Instagram because you see all of their stories, and then you meet them in person, you're like, oh, you full of shit. You full of shit.
Yes.
And I've met a few recently where I was like, one, not disappointed because in the back of my mind I was like, this is some bullshit. But then again, you're like, all right, let me give you the benefit of the doubt, and then you meet them in person, you're like, nope, bullshit. I was right. And I don't understand. It's like, just support other black women. Like, I don't.
I think because we all were trained under white supremacist patriarchal capitalism, and like so many of us don't know how to not do that or so many of us haven't taken the risk not to do it. That's just like what a part of like faking. Like a lot of us have taken code switching to that next level of fucking fakery, of just fucking fakery, and that it's not okay. That it's not okay to just show up and like be your full ass like black self, or like you have to put on some type of airs in order to be seen as relevant or important or whatever. I don't know, but it's
that's my
it's scary.
Kind of just like, what is wrong with you people? Yeah, that's right now in this moment. That's just.
So, what would you all tell your 25-year-old selves, thinking about where you are right now?
I think that I feel like there is a lot of ageism, like a part of white supremacy and a part of like capitalism, where somebody always has to be on the bottom. Is like ageism, right? And so like how old you are and what you have done at whatever age, or especially if you are like a high achieving person, black person in particular, right? How much you've accomplished at such a young age, or you're so smart for this age, or you have achieved this. You're going to this school, or you got this great job so young. Even now, so many of our stories of quote unquote black excellence are this person achieved this at this age, right? And so we end up including ageism as one of those markers that we assign value to. And so I would tell my 25-year-old self that, like, you don't have to do everything right now. If you don't like what you're doing right now, you could start over and you could try something else, because you have to live your whole life. And you don't have to have it all together right now. You don't have to have it all together ever. Ever. You know, it's okay. Whatever interest you have, look into that shit. If you want, like, whatever the fuck, it's fine. And, like, time isn't that real. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that. I think I wish there were more conversations about ageism that spanned like our whole lives. Like I just feel like it's dangerous even when we tell stories about the success of our youth, which I think is really important to highlight the awesome shit that our youth are doing. But I think sometimes we put too much emphasis on their age, which is detrimental to those at those successful youth as individuals and
Those
to the
coming
youth
up.
around them. Yes, like the point is that you do awesome shit with your life. It's not that you did it by 13 or by 14 or by 25 or 40 or whatever the fuck. You
Yeah,
know?
because it ends up causing more mental stress for you because you
Mhm.
think you haven't done enough. Like, oh,
Right.
you should have done this by the time you were 30. Or,
Right.
like, I had a bit of this anxiety because I just turned 40. And I was very much on the, should I actually say that I'm 40? Like, obviously, it's my birthday. I always celebrate my birthday.
Uh-huh.
And I just was like, fuck it, I'm 40.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, black crack's never, so we're good.
Unless you smoke crack.
Unless you smoke crack,
Smoke crack,
we'll
that's
crack your
something.
crack.
That's something else.
You can, now, black does bounce back from crack.
It
Yeah,
does.
it
But
does.
while
Not-
you're
it does.
smoking crack,
Crack,
it will keep you.
it'll
keep you
there will be holes in your
cracked.
face.
Yes.
But like I just was like,
I'm gonna tweet that. Black does it bounce back from crack. Those are the kind of tweets I do. That's what I do.
that's why I'll be retweeting. But I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm 40. I don't care. It's like there's so much more to do, and embracing the next decade of like dope shit I'm gonna continue to do.
Right.
It's like, and it shouldn't be like, oh, I haven't done every single thing I wanted to have or have the life I was supposed to have at 40
Right.
or at 30 or 27 is just not the thing. But it's like everything you don't lose. There's always a lesson out of all of that. And the more lessons you learn, the things you're like, all right, cool. So that was bad. Won't do that again. Okay. Never fuck with those folks again. And keep it moving.
What would you tell your 25-year-old self?
Not all as deep as y'all.
Stay out the chat room.
I would tell myself to cherish those knees.
Oh, cherish, yes.
Cherish those 25-year-old knees. Cherish them shits.
Yes.
Oh my God. I did not know this is where I would be right now.
See how that's working? See?
Cherish those knees. You will, every time you get low, cherish that shit.
Cherish the knees.
Because I don't care.
That's valuable. I actually have a story. So since we are actually friends in real life, we have hung out and we were at like Spa Castle or someplace in our 20s.
Yep, in our 20s.
In our 20s. And we were just hanging out. And, you know, Spa Castle, you can't have your phone. So we're talking to each other. We were talking to this black woman who I want to say was black doesn't crack. So she could have been
40 or 70.
Right, 45.
Yeah,
exactly. She could have been 45 or 75. I don't know. So we were just talking, and we talking about a little bit about Beyonce and other black women or whatever. And she was like, you know what I like about what I envious about with Beyonce? And we're like, what? She's like, her knees. And we laughed. We laughed that woman out the venue. She was like, yo, her knees, son? What are you talking about?
We did not understand the knowledge.
She's like, yo, I got she's imparting that wisdom on y'all. Y'all didn't see it. And y'all did not see it.
We're in there kicking our knees and shit, squatting, jumping up and down and whatnot. Yo, I wish I had one of our knees from back then.
Right?
Oh my! I wish I had that woman's knees.
So I would cherish my knees, and then I would kind of, I guess, tell myself that, I guess all of the things I thought I was supposed to have at 25, I guess be married and kids and stuff, that like, you don't even care about that shit. You think you care about it because everyone tells you can. So I had the feeling that I didn't care about it, but I thought I was supposed to care, so I would like try to care. I'm like, nah, you don't really gotta care. You don't really care about that shit, and it's okay to not care about that shit. But I wish I like knew that then, because I thought something was wrong with me. Yeah. Because I wasn't thinking about kids and a husband and whatever in these ways that other people were. So yeah, I guess, you know, cherish them knees and fuck those husbands.
Cherish
and fuck those husbands? Okay.
Well, not other people's husbands.
No. But fuck the idea.
Fuck
a
husband. Yeah.
No, I get you. It makes good sense. So, what do you all do for your self-care? Because obviously you have to take in a lot and listen to a lot. So how do you escape from that all?
I love TV. Like ratchet fucking reality TV is my thing.
Love and Hip Hop?
Yes.
Oh, God, I cannot.
I love it because it's like, this is so stupid.
I know. It's like, I feel like my brain's about to take
I enjoy it because a lot of the stuff I do is so heavy that I need something to be that fucking simple
so
and
ratchet.
stupid. And like, ma'am, you know y'all don't like each other. Why you meeting her for lunch?
Yeah.
What?
That's a fight waiting to happen.
Stevie J is just a devil.
No, but that's serious. Yeah. So like, I love that. Other TV shows too. I really, really, really indulge myself in TV. Like,
you have to.
You
a housewife stan?
Yes, I watch The Housewives. This Is Us is so cute.
Oh, I love This Is Us.
Oh my God, it's
I
so
love
cute.
it.
It's so well written.
Yes.
It's so perfect, and like it doesn't exploit like your trauma. Like it will make you cry every
But it's
episode.
not trauma porn.
Exactly.
Which
Like,
is the difference.
there's certain places it just won't go.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so there's like a safety in that, and it's cool to be able to quote unquote trust a show with like your emotions, because you know you're gonna cry, but it's not abusive, and I think that that's really important. So
It
I like
is.
that too.
So like TV, and I make sure there's days where I do nothing. Like, I don't even clean my house. It's literally like a day where I do nothing. Like, if someone is like, yo, let's do this, I'm like, I have plans that day. My plans are to sit in my house and do nothing. But I have to do that. I notice that I get really overwhelmed and I get anxiety when I'm like too busy, in quotations. I don't like that. I don't like, even when I was just on vacation, it was like a busy vacation, and I was like, what is this?
I stop all these excursions.
Yes, it was like no, I'm a person who needs to like kind of just lay down and just like do nothing and not like, so that I do for myself too, because I have to.
Mm-hmm. That's funny as hell. I just was thinking about you calling your vacation to Indiana Jones.
Yes, it was such an Indiana Jones. So many adventures. Why are we going in this tomb?
Did you get the skull?
It was just so much. It was fun. I enjoyed it. I had a great time. But it was like, I want to lay down.
Well, vacation is supposed to be fun for you, and like
it was fun. It's just that so much
quiet.
It was just so much, because I was in Egypt, so there's so much history. So like, all of these tours are like not even just like, look at this thing. It's like, here's this information from 1100 BC, and it was just a lot. And I was like, my brain's not supposed to be doing all this.
I'm on vacation. My brain is supposed to be napping.
It was a lot, but I enjoyed it. It was a good experience. But I noticed that I need downtime. Like, I can't just be on. Like, I don't like that.
I am a movie person. I love movies. So me and my partner are in the movies like all the time. We stay in the movies. He's also, it's dope because he's also a movie person. So we go to the movies and then we talk about the movie.
What's you've seen recently?
Birds of Prey was really good. It was cute. It was cute. It was a good time, and I feel like a lot of people are talking shit about it because it's a woman cast. It's a female-led cast, and it was fun. It was fun.
That's all you want.
Yeah,
that's why the Marvel movies work, because they're fun. Like they just suspend disbelief behind everything else.
Right. So so that was cool. So we do movies. And we do, I do like blurred shit. Like I really indulge myself in foolishness. So like comic book stuff, stickers. I love stickers.
It does.
I love cosplay. I'm a lazy cosplayer, but I do love it. But I enjoy myself. I indulge myself in a lot of frivolity because by nature, a lot of my conversations are serious. I'm not really good at small talk. I love movies, but I'm also looking at like the social cultural like dynamics of film and shit like that. So like everything I do is infused with so much like analytics and like, exploring the culture and shit like that I really need to do things that like mean nothing. I need to
escape.
I need to watch Harley Quinn. I need to watch cartoons. I need to do those things. And that I find that to be like a really good escape. Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So what's next for y'all?
What are we about to do?
Pod and Live NYC.
Oh yeah. More podcasting.
No, really?
Yeah, right. So like we said before, we do Pod and Live NYC, and that's the largest black podcast meetup in the world. So we do that every year, and we really focus on growing that. It's been important to us as podcasters who also care about podcasting. Like, everyone podcasts, but we also are invested in the industry, or we're invested in making sure that people of color have access and that we gain exposure and shit like that. All the things that we didn't have when we started podcasting years ago. So we try to, when we can, we try and go to the conferences and see what people are talking about and all that stuff. So
telling them that they're lying.
Finding the black people there and be like, they're lying. Right?
It's some bullshit. I've heard on your show.
You don't need
this is ridiculous.
You don't need to spend $800.
Yeah, so
keep your money.
You don't need to do all that.
So in addition to like being invested in our actual podcast, we are invested in diversifying the industry, demystifying the industry, and making sure that like our voices are actually heard. And it's been interesting to see all of these large companies do these like diversity commercials for podcasts.
What's a diversity commercial, Jay?
So funny that you should ask. But a lot of like these podcast competitions, which I think are good for the people who get involved in them, but I often think that the main goal is to create a podcast commercial to tell people, hey, you all know we do podcasting, right? Looky, we do podcasting. Look, diversity.
Yeah.
And it ends up a lot of times being more of a commercial than it is so much as like a benefit to the people who are involved. So I'm not saying that no one gains from it. I'm just saying that
we know why y'all doing it.
Done. Yeah,
and we know
see
why.
right through
we
this.
know why you're doing it. We can see through it.
And there's more that you could actually be doing that's tangible than this commercial where thousands of black people are competing and crawling on top of each other to get these crumbs. Right. It's when it's really just a commercial to say, hey, we're this big media company that could invest in actual advertising, but we're going to use people of color to do the advertising for us by competing for this scrap.
That, and then like when that happens, I think that you are not acknowledging that these things already exist. And you can tap into these things that already exist. Mm-hmm. So you're saying we're doing this as if it's like, as if black people aren't podcasting, as if people of color aren't already fucking doing this shit. Right. That's my huge annoyance of it.
It's like the number one podcast in the world is run by black people.
Yeah. So it's just like they make it seem as if you know why we're not in those spaces. It's because you decide to not have us in those spaces. That's like, be for real about that shit. So all of that is just like really, really annoying. You don't want us to be there. You only want us to be there after fighting to death for these crumbs and filtered in the way you want us filtered in. You don't actually want us. Yeah. You don't want us there.
Mm-hmm. So that's like a part of our like consistent work. So making space for podcasters to just ask each other questions without having to pay a large entry fee or do some sort of competition or know the right person. All you need to know is that Tea with Queen and Jay throws the largest black podcast networking event or meetup. We don't like the word networking, but meetup in the world, and you can come and it's fucking free.
Yeah,
that's
it. You can talk to people there and get information there, and and it's just more organic and real. But there's a DJ playing, there's drinks flowing, and it's not like that kind of like very strict, kind of stuff.
And you can be at any level. Like you don't have to do shit. That's the point.
Yeah.
You don't have to do or be shit.
You can sit in your corner the whole time.
You can do that too.
Yeah, just have your Sprite in the corner.
Yeah.
But so growing the podcast and continuing our work to help diversify the space and create access.
Yeah. Cool. So that's a good segue into the last question. So as part of 29 Days of Magic, we want to sort of help amplify in any way we can. So we have a give and an ask. So if there's something that you'd like to give out to the audience or to the universe, or if you want to ask for something from the audience or the universe, shoot your shot.
What would I like to give? Something that we say, because podcasting has kind of like exploded, there are a lot of people in and out of the industry who are like this phrase is floating around that the market is flooded, the market is saturated, and why would you start a podcast now? Or if you want to be successful in podcasting, it has to be this certain type of podcast. But I think as people of color whose voices and whose narratives have often been like, our voices have been silenced, our stories have been either erased or told by somebody who doesn't know anything about us. It's important that you make whatever kind of content you want to make, whatever kind of story you want to share. You don't have to. You're successful. You don't need to do this podcast. You know, Laura, for example, like you don't need to do this, but it's important that you're using your voice. Like it's there's space for whatever you want to do and whatever story you want to tell. There's space for it. So that's my give.
Awesome.
What's the question again?
Thanks, Queen. So, if you've got a give or an ask for the audience and or the universe.
Okay, I have an ask. So I want to ask folks to, when you have an idea or when you're thinking you're starting something, to kind of like research and see if it already exists, and to see if you can like put your resources into that already existing. Like not everything doesn't have to be like yours or your idea or your company or your whatever. There's ways for us to collectively kind of do these things, and these things kind of already exist in places where you can just be like, oh, I want to do blah, blah, blah. And then you realize that there's this other Black woman who already does it. So what you do is maybe just ask her what she needs help with, or, you know, something like that. It doesn't have to be like your thing all the time for you to contribute to like the collective and Blackness and, you know, all of that shit. I think there's a lot of times where it's like, this isn't happening. Yeah. I need to do this. Right. And it's like, it is happening. Just find out where it's happening. And then, you know, like, you know, it's just the whole
collaborate.
idea.
You don't always have to create. You don't always have to create.
Exactly.
It happens to us with the podcast meetup. People will hit us up like, hey, there are no podcast events for Black people.
Oh, Jesus.
Do you want to help me organize this thing?
And you're like,
How about you know I've been podcasting for 6 years. How about you ask me, hey, I haven't noticed a lot of, you know, Black podcast events. Do you know of any? And then when I say nah, and the other podcasters, you know, say nah, then like move from there. Yeah. But it's just, we just assume because white people haven't shown us what Black people are doing, we just assume that Black people aren't doing it. And then
we assume that we don't do shit. Yeah. And we think in the scarcity model. We think that, you know, if I don't do it, then it's not going to happen. And that's not the case most of the time. A lot of the times, there was a candy lady in every neighborhood. You know what I mean? The market wasn't saturated. You know,
it worked.
And you know what I mean? So it's just like, you know, like, get off that shit. All of us could be candy ladies. You know, so yeah.
I think that's a good way to end the show.
I like that. All of us could be candy ladies.
Although y'all said ladies.
I am not a candy lady.
She's a candy person.
Ladies, thank you so much.
Person.
Okay. We have established that Jay is a candy
person. Not a lady. Thank you.
Even though she said it out loud, and it wasn't.
I did.
Just said.
I did.
It was nostalgic. It was like candy.
No, it was nostalgia. I get you.
Yes.
No, we won't shade you for that one.
Thank you.
But no, seriously, ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was really honored that you guys were able to have some time to come down.
Thanks for having us.
And have this honest conversation, which I think will help a lot and move some stuff forward.
Thanks for
and so
us.
We'll put all information about when's the next Pod Live?
April 18th.
Okay.
So we will put more information out soon. So you can always check our website. Yep, teawithqueenandj.com. And we're on all everywhere you listen to your favorite podcast. We're there. Yep. Tea with Queen and J. And you said you'll put our information in the notes. Yeah, that's cool. Email us, teawithqueenandj@gmail.com. And we're on social at teawithqj on Instagram and Twitter.
Cool. I'll put all the details in the show notes.
Thank you.
This is so fun. It's funny because like it's I'm happy but also sad that this is all coming to end because you all are the final 29 Days of Magic guests I've had on the show, and I couldn't think of two better women to end off what's been a really magical month of exploration and discovery and just Black woman magic on so many levels. So I really, really appreciate that you guys did this for us.
It's been an honor, and it's an honor for you to like have us close out you've had so many dynamic women peoples on here. It's been really some ladies. It has been dope to listen to. So thank you for having us. We appreciate it.
Awesome. And that is our show.